Welcome to this episode of MoGuard TV. I'm Sergeant Alex Flynn with the 70th Mobile Public Affairs Detachment. In this episode, we'll focus on the Missouri National Guard's mission when responding to state emergencies. We'll also highlight the vital role of liaison officers, Missouri National Guardsmen who work closely with civilian authorities during emergencies, helping to facilitate communication and enhance response efforts. The National Guard is the only component of America's armed forces with a dual state and federal mission. Not only do citizen soldiers and airmen deploy overseas to support combat and contingency operations, they also serve their state when activated by the governor through a state of emergency declaration.
The Missouri National Guard is always ready to respond to an array of man-made or natural disasters. Guardsmen frequently respond to snow and ice storms, flooding, tornadoes, and a number of other incidents. Since Major General Steve Danner assumed his role as Adjutant General of Missouri in 2009, more than 5,700 Missouri soldiers and airmen have mobilized for 16 state missions.
The Guard is always ready, always there upon a call of the governor to address any state emergency mission. What we're after is to protect the citizens of the state of Missouri, so life, limb, and property damage in that order will be how we gauge our emergency responses.
During state emergency missions, the Guard supplements civilian capabilities in the form of manpower and equipment. Ultimately, civilians, from a local fire chief to the commander-in-chief, the governor, are in charge of any response.
Typically, the Guard is called up when local and state agencies have exhausted their capabilities to respond to an event.
Our role is to support civilian authorities through SEMA, which is State Emergency Management Agency.
SEMA's mission is to develop emergency operation plans for state government departments and protect the lives and property of all Missourians when major disasters threaten public safety.
The National Guard is not in charge of an instance like this. SEMA is, as far as the state is concerned. So we respond to what they ask us to do.
And so all our requests for support for the National Guard to help those local entities come through SEMA. And SEMA is the state agency that processes that. They are co-located here at the Ike Skelton Training Site with the Missouri National Guard, which is hugely beneficial for us.
There's a lot of cross-level liaising with SEMA, and there are times that we are mutually supporting entities. Once that emergency declaration is made, that's when the Joint Operations Center stands up, and then we alert forces in the field that will respond to the event.
And the staff that's working behind me, their job is to coordinate that effort.
They are citizen soldiers, so they're coming from their jobs or homes, and they're mobilizing at their armories, and then they're getting to wherever the need is, and so that takes time.
So all total, from call to being able to move to the field, we hope to be able to do that in about 6 hours.
The Joint Operations Center, or JOC, is the Missouri National Guard's conduit for communications and response efforts during an emergency.
We really try to carry out 4 functions. One is information management. We watch the news, we get reports from our units in the field, we watch the weather, we watch social media. We pull from those to maintain what we call our common operating picture in the state of Missouri. And that picture allows our general to make the very best decisions whenever an incident does occur.
We can paint a common operating picture of an area that we couldn't have done like several years ago. So technology has made a vast improvement.
You're going to have multiple different staff sections represented here in the Joint Operations Center, as well as LNOs from the task forces themselves that are out operating at the incident site.
Liaison officers, or LNOs, are Missouri National Guardsmen who facilitate communication and response efforts between all parties involved in the disaster response. The Missouri National Guard has response plans in place, ready to go whenever disaster strikes.
Majority of the responses that we already have a basic plan in place. However, we have to take that plan dependent on the situation itself and tweak it to fit that specific scenario.
The frequency of such missions makes emergency response training critical.
When MoGuard TV returns, we'll learn about the Missouri National Guard's role in Operation Vibrant Response, a national military exercise involving a disaster in a major city.
For over 375 years, our nation's citizen soldiers have sacrificed, struggled, and triumphed at home and abroad. Through resolve, resilience, and readiness, our Army National Guard continues its proud legacy.
As citizen soldiers,
we are your next-door neighbors.
We're your colleagues in schools, offices,
and factories.
In every corner of America,
the Army National Guard is nearby.
The Army National Guard.
MoGuard TV filmed in the Joint Operations Center during Exercise Vibrant Response, an annual national-level training exercise that involved 119 military units throughout the nation. The exercise was conducted by U.S. Northern Command and led by U.S. Army North. During Vibrant Response, the Missouri National Guard was given the worst-case scenario of responding to a terrorist attack in a major city.
It's a national-level exercise that involves FEMA, SEMA, and then the National Guard as well.
This is our first time we've ever exercised a nuclear detonation.
We're capable of responding to the complex catastrophe, such as a nuclear biological hazard.
Brigadier General Gregory Mason, the Assistant Adjutant General for Maneuver, served as a dual-status commander during the exercise. As commander, the general was in charge of balancing state and federal resources for an effective response.
In this case, a Missouri National Guard general officer who can command both federal and state forces at the same time, which is kind of unusual, or has been unusual. It's starting to become the customary and normal process now. But at one time, it was where federal forces would come in, do their own thing, state forces would do their own thing. It could be a little disjointed, so the dual status commander is an attempt to get around that.
Exercises like Vibrant Response are really important to make sure that everybody is on the same page.
We're able to build a lot of those relationships at the federal level that we wouldn't have done so otherwise. So this is an attempt to exchange those business cards and get to know those people that we would be working with in a real emergency. It also gives us an opportunity to try something different.
Anytime you have an operation, there's going to be logistical challenges, and especially a big operation like this exercise is replicating, there's going to be some major logistical challenges.
We ensure in the logistics arena that any capability gaps that those units have are filled, whether it be food, water, fuel, or equipment. Depending on the nature of the event, that really changes the focus of our logistics planning effort. In flood response, it may be earth-moving equipment, and in a winter weather event, it's more health and welfare, restoring infrastructure, power, water, power generation.
I think the only challenge is whenever we have an SCD is getting the right mix of people to the affected area.
To ensure a flexible response capability during emergencies, task forces are created that assemble resources and manpower from a variety of specialized Guard units, including military police, engineering forces, and public affairs.
The Guard tends to use task forces rather than full units because that gives us the flexibility to reach into the expertise of the civilian citizen soldier. So we would not need to call up the whole unit, but just specific individuals who have those civilian skill sets that we need to use at that particular time.
It may be needed for an area large as a city, like Kansas City, or as small as a small town that has 100 or 200 residents. That's the great thing about a task force. They're scalable.
The exercise was also an opportunity for the Army and Air National Guard to work together and learn what each branch of the Missouri National Guard can bring to the table during a disaster.
The Air National Guard has been very active in state emergency duty throughout my career. I go back to dealing with the Great Flood of 1993. State emergency duty has always been a key part of the mission of the Air National Guard. We bring a broad spectrum of talented people. We're fortunate to have C-130s in Missouri because that aircraft brings all kinds of capability in terms of transporting equipment, personnel, and can be operated on relatively short runway.
The Missouri Air National Guard 139th Airlift Wing, based in St. Joseph, Missouri, operates a fleet of C-130 Hercules aircraft. The Hercules aircraft is capable of operating from rough dirt strips and is the prime transport for airdropping troops and equipment. It has a range of 1,496 miles and can carry 6 pallets or 74 litters or 92 combat troops or a combination of any of these up to the cargo compartment capacity. Communication between the Missouri National Guard and the public is vital during disasters, ensuring the people of Missouri have the most timely and accurate information available.
The Missouri National Guard has several social media platforms that they use, including Twitter, Facebook, and Flickr.
Social media has become a useful tool during a disaster response that enables the public to share on-the-ground updates and communicate their needs to the Missouri National Guard.
During state emergency duty, one of the more difficult parts is keeping up with the amount of content that comes through.
Social media has become a useful tool during a disaster response that enables the public to share on-the-ground updates and communicate their needs to the Missouri National Guard.
You'd be hard-pressed to find any soldier that's been in the Guard for a couple years who hasn't been to some kind of state emergency duty. It's probably the greatest job in the world, and the fact that we get to help Missourians when they need us.
Missouri is among the top in the National Guard in responding to man-made and natural disasters. Since 2009, more than 5,700 Missouri Guardsmen have mobilized for 16 state missions.
One, all National Guards, it's what we signed up for state and country. And two, there's never enough hands to go around that needed help. We need help the elderly, no, they can't help themselves out in this weather like that. I mean, everyone needs assistance.
It's just complete devastation. We've never had water ever before like this, ever.
When we got the call a couple nights ago, we dropped whatever we were doing, we packed our bags, and we made it to the armory, so we're pretty glad to be here. I'm willing to do our part any way we can.
We actually got called up Monday. We showed up Monday morning and we went to Poplar Bluff and then back to Dexter and ended back in Cape. And yesterday we went south of East Prairie and threw some sandbags on a levee down there. And then we got called up today, come down here about 10 or 10:30 this morning.
It's nice to see the local citizens here. When the Missouri National Guard shows up, you can see them feel much calmer, knowing the situation is under control. The citizen soldiers that are here protecting this property and preparing for what could be very, very difficult situations in days and weeks to come are adding strength to local law enforcement and strength to the community.
The thing we try to keep in mind and remind our soldiers is that even though we've done this a number of times and they've been doing it for days on end, the people that are the recipients of these hours of work they're facing the most traumatic experience of their lives, and the potential of all their dreams and all their livelihood being washed away or destroyed in front of them.
Our soldiers work with remarkable enthusiasm. Very hard, long days. They did a remarkable job, and the thing that they did was they infected the local populace with that enthusiasm. Where locals were exhausted and not ready to give up, but they were really exhausted. whenever they saw our soldiers step up and take on some hard tasks, I think that they joined in the fight again. And really, this is a community effort. We only facilitate good things, and by coming with that kind of spirit and enthusiasm, we really did facilitate good things, one soldier at a time to one citizen at a time.
Probably the single most scariest thing I've ever been in my life.
It looked like it had been hit with a bomb.
After the tornado hit about 6 o'clock last evening, we had our LNOs in Joplin approximately 9 o'clock, 3 hours later, and in 3 hours after that we had the 117th Search and Rescue team on its way, arriving about midnight, and worked all through the night in assisting the local authorities in searching through the rubble for individuals, and that assistance. We also added an additional 60 engineers to that team.
It's sentimental for us. It's a real big deal. I mean, you got to think, we live around here. We go to these places. We feel for the people living here.
We're here to relieve the pain when we get here, do what we can. We bring heavy equipment in. We can get to things that a lot of these other agencies can't.
Oh, 7 times now we've fought floods in 4 years, and this is as much water as I've seen all the way back to '93. The National Guard's a community-based organization. I mean, all our soldiers come from the towns that are affected and the counties that are affected, and both Army Guard and Air Guard. So this is a hometown fight.
Every SCD, state emergency duty, that I've ever been on, the community has really supported us out there and thanked us and just really gone out of their way to make us feel welcome. And in turn, we want to work hard for them and do what we can to help them in their time of need.
It's a pleasure and an honor to get a chance to serve them and give them some kind of comfort and relief that can help make their lives better.
We've gotten to the point where not only can we can respond quickly, effectively, in the manner that the civilian agencies see best fit.
The National Guard Bureau administrates the National Guards for each state and territory. In 3 of the 4 metrics that the National Guard Bureau has for state of emergency duty, the Missouri National Guard is ranked either 1 or 2 in the nation.
There's no doubt that the Missouri Guard excels at what it does.
Coming up after the break, we'll have a story about Missouri National Guard liaison officers who play a critical role in emergency responses.
As citizen soldiers,
We are your next door neighbors.
We're your colleagues in schools, offices,
In factories.
in every corner of America.
the Army National Guard is nearby.
The Army National Guard.
During state emergency missions, the title and designation of liaison officers, or LNOs, are given to guardsmen who will act as communications middlemen between the Guard's Joint Operations Center and various local, state, and federal government agencies.
There's an emergency of some form or fashion. Everything is local. It all starts and it all ends local. A request for assistance comes from SEMA. So it started at that local official to SEMA, to the state, and then comes to our joint operations cell in the state headquarters of Missouri National Guard. Then the units are alerted at that point, is when a commander contacts the unit and says, we're going to respond to this emergency. Go ahead and send out your liaison officers. They report, say, I'm here to help. What can we as the Missouri National Guard do? What are you expecting of us? It's communications of what the needs are and communications of what the capabilities are.
Directing the flow of communication is a very important part of the LNO's role.
We look at what they're requesting and clarify it, and we send that information up, and then our hires will determine this is what we can do. That information is sent back, and we are coordinating between our hires and the county agencies, and we say, this is what we can do for you, and this is when we can do it.
LNO down at the county level, if there's a state emergency duty going on and that county is out of a particular asset, say it needs more personnel to fill sandbags, that county is going to put up a request for assistance, and that's going to ultimately go up to our state emergency management agency. That'll give us a heads up that this request could make its way to us and give us usually several hours of lead time to staff that and prepare for it.
We have the ability to provide a large amount of personnel, a large amount of equipment in a short amount of time.
The Missouri National Guard chose to use this liaison officer concept to better its response to assist the civil authorities. And that LNO is really the eyes and ears that provides the continuity that's needed in the response between civil authorities and the Missouri National Guard. They help to calm the crisis by assisting the civil authorities firsthand.
And like all skills, being a good liaison officer is something that has to be developed and honed.
It's a little intimidating at first, but over time you develop that rapport and establish those communication lines. Everything is a little slow in the beginning, but ultimately it picks up and you just start to see everybody interoperate and work towards that common goal.
The Guard seeks to fit LNOs who are subject matter experts with agencies that fall under those areas of expertise. An example of this is when an emergency mission calls for a heavy amount of civilian law enforcement. The Guard uses soldiers and airmen with similar skill sets as liaisons.
The 70 Troop Command has a lot of MPs. We're going to send one of those as our LNO because they're going to be more in depth. They're going to have more knowledge of what those MPs can and cannot do.
The Missouri National Guard ensures that certain soldiers are ready when called upon to be LNOs by giving them regular training. A recent LNO training course covered the Web EOC computer system, which keeps government agencies informed on weather, traffic, and utility outages.
So essentially it's a shared program across the state that everybody uses, both military and civilian side. So if they can log in, they have a jurisdiction status board, which essentially says this jurisdiction or this county has this many people without electricity or this many roads flooded. So they can actually go in, they can view that board, and they can also talk to that person right there firsthand. So Web EOC is one of the primary resources for LNO.
The Web EOC system is available on mobile devices as well, ensuring liaison officers have the most current information.
If an LNO has a smartphone or a tablet, if they have even cell phone signal, even if they don't have power for a computer, they can use that system to communicate.
I think that this training that we attended the last 3 days gave us a better insight into how we can assist our commander and agencies that we support during operations.
During hectic and stressful events, LNOs and the training they receive are proof positive that the Guard is ready when the citizens of Missouri need their assistance.
They're the grease that helps make this entire engine work because information is key throughout the entire process. And LNOs ensure that information flows where it needs to and when it needs to, and that all the parts can keep moving with that information.
It is now my honor to introduce the Commander of the Missouri National Guard, the Adjutant General, Major General Steve Danner.
Thank you, Sergeant Flynn, and thank you viewers for watching this episode of MoGuard TV. Whenever man-made or natural disasters occur, your Missouri National Guard is always ready, always there to serve our state and nation. Through training and exercises, we have developed and continuously refined the skills and relationships needed to respond effectively to any disaster. I'm especially proud of our Liaison Officer program. By embedding our liaison officers with local, state, and federal agencies, We help facilitate communication during response efforts, identify needs, and clarify the Guard's capabilities. This ensures our fellow Missourians receive help quickly and effectively. The Missouri National Guard is recognized as a national leader in state emergency responses thanks to the service and sacrifices of our soldiers, airmen, and their families. On behalf of Governor Jay Nixon and our nearly 12,000 soldiers and airmen, thank you for your support.